What's up, guys? Once another episode. So, I want to start this video off by saying, very quickly, spoilers for Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen. I also want to say this is going to be a very negative video, so if you don't want to hear that, then just click away. To be honest, I've wanted to make this video for quite a while, but I'm kind of nervous, because the last time I made a negative video, it became my most viewed video, and everyone hated me for it. But since then, I have had a video that became more popular, and I think I can talk about it. Yeah, in some of my other videos, I hinted towards my dislike of Gojo versus Makima, and today I'm finally going to talk about it. So, again, spoiler for Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen. Second quick warning. I haven't seen JJK, okay? Very important to say. I have friends who have seen JJK, and I've talked to them a lot about the series, so I know a solid bit about Gojo's character, but I want to give you that quick warning. So first of all, the other thing I want to mention, I'm a massive Chainsaw Man fan, okay? So it's not like I have no connection to either character. I love Chainsaw Man. The Makima arc is great. And in fact, whilst I've not seen much of JJK, the bits where I have seen, I love Gojo in it. So I really like both of these characters, but that's one of the reasons why I really don't like the fight. Right, let's just get started with the themes. So the whole thing about these characters' themes. One is the fun, lighthearted sensei. He's the most powerful person out there, and although he doesn't relate to people, he'll try and protect them. Meanwhile, we have Makima, who is the main villain of arguably the series so far. She's not a sensei. She's more of a love interest, I guess. She's nowhere near the strongest of her world, and she doesn't relate to anyone. She just tries to murder for the sake of murder. And hell, her whole power is to control people below her. Why are these two pitted against each other? Like, I looked it up, and apparently it's both are authority figures who brought in a young boy who had fused with a demonic entity. I'm going to talk about a character later for Gojo who tackles that exact same thing and trains them as part of a force that hunts those demonic entities. Technically, that guy also does it. Both the strongest in their organizations, kind of. I mean, Makima, I guess, but it's also because she's manipulating her whole organization. Known for a myriad of unstoppable techniques. So is the Juggernaut, shut up. To the point their presence affects society itself. Again, the character I'm going to bring up later, same thing. Both seek to tear down the world in place of to create a better one. That is the closest this fight has to a good theme, and even then, the way the two go about it are completely different. Gojo is trying to reach the very top so that he can eventually just take out the people at the very top and run, fix the Jujutsu Kaisen world. Meanwhile, Makima just wants to control the Chainsaw Devil so she can kill everything she doesn't like and just create her perfect world. So one's a very selfless action, the other's very selfish. Alright? Second major thing to this fight is the debate. Don't get me started on the fucking debate, man. This fight, the best way I can describe it, is debating this match is the equivalent to slamming your head against a brick wall. Because there is no winner. If you look at... Like, I hear people say that Gojo wins because he has passive infinity and also domain expansion. But all that does is basically mean that Makima can't hurt him. But at the same time, he can't hurt Makima. Because Makima's whole power is that she can control anyone she deems below her, and one of the things that she does with those people is use them as extra lives. She has done that with every person who lives in Japan. Gojo lives in Japan. I have heard my mates argue that technically, to make things fair, they would say Gojo isn't affected. But at the same time, Gojo would just have to sit there and murder her millions upon millions of times. Like, is literally Alucard on steroids. And on top of all that, Makima's powers are so hard to like fully define because Chainsaw Man isn't focused on a versus stuff. It's focused more on its story than its fighting. So they don't spend much time explaining Makima's powers, except she's really hard to kill. She can shoot you with her finger, and she can listen to you through birds. But then at the same time, we have some of her other abilities which just make her invincible. So basically, you just sit here going in an infinite loop of this character wins, no, this character wins, no, this character wins. And it just genuinely makes me angry. Okay? In my opinion, the best way to do a death battle is a death battle where there is an agreeable winner. Even if some people will argue it's wrong, you can at least get away where you can objectively say, yeah, if you take these certain things, yeah, they win. There's no doing that for Gojo versus Makima. You can't say one wins over the other, because Gojo just wastes all his energy killing Makima tens of millions of times, whilst Makima can't hurt Gojo. Okay? You get where I'm coming from? I hope you do. Right. There's also spoilers. This is a massive thing, and I know it is kind of ironic because this whole video so far has just been me spoiling Chainsaw Man. But to put simply, if they were to do this matchup, they would have to spoil 90% of Chainsaw Man. Considering currently the anime has had one season, which covers the first two major arcs of the story, which is Eternity and Katana Man. The problem with that, pretty big problem, Makima doesn't do anything in season 1. She has used one ability, and even then, to this day, I can't explain that ability. It's her least explained power, that she just shoots someone from across Japan. So, in order to cover Makima on Death Battle, you would need to spoil that she's a villain, you'd need to spoil all her powers, you need to spoil her entire motivation, and you need to spoil the final arc. Wait, one of the more recent arcs. Of course, there is certain stuff you could cut out, like more modern Chainsaw Man. You could cut out some of the stuff involving the hybrids, but arguably the best arc in all of Chainsaw Man would have to be completely spoiled. And I would hate for that to happen because Chainsaw Man is such a great series that I think all people who are who are over the age of 18 should watch it or read it. Either way. I have heard that the same thing would have to happen with Jujutsu Kaisen, but it's a lot less that would need to be spoiled. I think there's only like one ability Gojo has that isn't that's currently manga exclusive, which I still do have the same reasons for it. It's just I feel like it's a bigger deal with Makima than it is Gojo. Right. Then there's also the complete lack of fight potential. Seriously, Gojo is a great character because he is such a personality. His whole thing is that he'll mess with his opponents because he's so overconfident that he's going to win. Meanwhile, Makima barely shows emotions. Her big character traits is how she's lifeless, she's calculating, and she barely ever gives any banter. And with no banter, you are wasting one of the biggest personalities you've put on the show. Gojo is such an interesting character to use on Death Battle, and you're wasting him on someone who won't be able to match his banter potential. Then there's the fact that neither really fight. Oh fuck. Neither really fight physically, and since neither fight physically, what are you gonna do with it? In fact, Makima can't fight him physically because of Infinity. At least with other matchups for Gojo, there's ways around it. Makima doesn't have any, so it's essentially just the entire fight would just be Gojo killing Makima over and over again until he eventually loses all his energy. And on top of that, neither's powers really bounce off each other. It it's literally just shoot Gojo, Gojo punch you, or Gojo make giant ball and shoot you with it. Then there's also the whole thing that the overall victor will start a flame war, I can assure you. Because, again, there's no winner. So no matter what you say, you're going to offend one community. It's genuinely one of the most frustrating fights of all time for me. Now, up till now, I have been saying a lot of this from my perspective, so I also wanted to give the perspective of some of my friends. We've got Quaxy, my editor mate. He's edited a few of my videos. He's, I think he's nearly caught up today on Jujutsu Kaisen, and he's fully caught up on Chainsaw Man, as am I. And you can read what he said. There's also my mate Gingy. He's a bit of he's a legend on the channel, you know. Godspeed Gingy. You're probably watching this when it comes out, and he's a massive Jujutsu Kaisen lover. I'll give you guys a second to read it. You can pause if you want to, but these are their opinions. I was gonna ask more of my friends, but these two are the biggest weebs in my friend group. The sad thing is, no one else seems to talk about this matchup in any kind of a negative light. And it's almost like a cult with some of these guys, where it's it's a fight which is building its own community. And the scary thing about that is it's just not a good match. Now, I've actually had a theory for a while on why this is the case. I think the case is that people saw Jujutsu Kaisen, loved Gojo, and wanted to see him on Death Battle. And whilst people were thinking out matchups for him, Chainsaw Man came out, people watched that, people watched the first season of it, saw Makima, assumed Makima was the same type of character, and then immediately went, let's put these two against each other. And then just didn't read the Chainsaw Man manga. And then after so many people have said this, and some people have read the base minimum of the manga to get some themes, everyone else kind of just went, yeah, sounds legit. I'll say, yeah, it should happen. And now there's a very good chance that it shows up this season, which just makes me really sad because I love both characters and I want to see them get good matchups. Speaking of which, let's get a bit more positive. Let's talk about some better matchups for these two, and just better matchups for their series in general. Uh, in fact, personally, I don't think Makima should be on Death Battle. I've already explained it, but her powers are really underexplained. And even currently in the manga, there's only a few of her abilities where we fully know what they do. So either wait with Makima until later on in the series where we know a little more about her, or just don't use her. But if they have to, and you want to pit them against someone from Jujutsu Kaisen, do Sukuna! Sukuna is just the better matchup. Because at least the two are villains who manipulate people. That's better themes than Gojo versus Makima. Okay? Then there's also the one which I'm going to talk about in the next slide, Gojo versus Kisuke. Just give me a second to talk about that, because that deserves its own whole rant. But for other matchups, if you want to see Chainsaw Man versus Jujutsu Kaisen, the best matchup you can get is Yuji versus Denji. The two are incredibly similar, and it makes sense to pit them up against each other. And I will publicly support it because both are really good characters, and it would be a really interesting and fun match. Maybe they could do it after Shibuya comes out for Jujutsu Kaisen, because I know that does a lot for Yuji's power set. And hey, maybe you could wait until season 2 of Chainsaw Man, but it's a little less necessary here because Denji's already shown most of his abilities. The only thing that hasn't really happened in the anime yet is him using the wires on his chainsaws like grappling hooks. That is pretty much all that changes throughout Chainsaw Man. Unless you want to count some from the Makima arc, but you don't fully need to talk about it because it could be counted as outside help. Hell, screw it. If you really want Chainsaw Man on Death Battle and you hate Yuji versus Denji, Beam versus Bartolomeo is legitimately a better matchup. Because both are goofy characters who at first seem super threatening, but end up being obsessed with the main character to an almost cult-like worship. It is legitimately better than Gojo versus Makima, and who doesn't want to see Beam on Death Battle, okay? It's Beam. People who haven't seen Chainsaw Man and who haven't seen the manga, wait for season 2 to come out. You will love Beam as well. Everyone loves Beam. Beam is the beloved one. And who else doesn't love Bartolomeo? Bartolomeo's great. Alright, Gojo versus Kisuke Ran. Let's go. So, themes. Both are powerful members of the groups. They're not even the main characters the main villains can fully beat. This is, currently in the manga, Gojo versus Sukuna is going down, and Sukuna is losing, even with big power-ups. Meanwhile, Aizen physically beat Kisuke, but Kisuke beat him mentally, outsmarting him and using the power of the Hogyoku against him. It's Kisuke from Bleach, from people who don't know. They're both comedic sensei figures with dark sides. That's not... I don't really need to explain that one. It's just who they are. Both are famous for their headwear. Gojo... Everyone recognizes Gojo's mask, and Kisuke... Ichigo literally calls him hat and clogs. Both characters train to help them control the... Wait. Both train characters to help them control an evil side they have. That's Gojo with Sukuna, obviously. And then also, Kisuke does a lot of training for Ichigo, trying to get his hollow side under control. They're also planning to kill one of the main characters for the greater good. Kisuke puts the Hogyoku into Rukia and puts her into a Gaigi so that she'll eventually die with a lack of spiritual pressure, so that way the Hogyoku is gone forever and people like Aizen can't get their hands on it. Meanwhile, the big thing about Jujutsu Kaisen is Gojo is helping Itadori get all 20 fingers of Sukuna, so that eventually he can kill Itadori, and Sukuna will be gone for good. Both abilities are considered broken, giving them basically an area around them where they have complete control. Being Kisuke's Bonkai, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of. No. And, of course, for Gojo, it's Passive Infinity and Domain Expansion. Then the matchup, it's actually really fun. I don't want to get into it too much here, because I hope this matchup gets made one day, and I can do an analysis on it. Because, genuinely, it is such a fun matchup, talking about insane levels of hacks against insane levels of strength. Then, combat and banter, one's a swordsman trying to get up close, so we could see Kisuke try and get up close to Gojo, whilst Gojo's using his infinity to just dodge every attack, until Kisuke starts using Hado attacks, which just fully surround him. Then banter, both are famous for their levels of banter, so we could see after a while Gojo get a few hits off on Kisuke, then Kisuke do what he did against Yami and just go, I've read your attacks now, you can't hit me. And then we just have a bit where both are trying to attack each other whilst dodging. And whilst all this is happening, they can be either messing with each other or gaining a deep level of respect for one another. I genuinely think this would be the best death battle to do with either character, and it would bring out the very best of Gojo on the show. Okay? So, at this point, okay. I'm not gonna keep the rant going anymore. Let's just move on. Just thanks again, Hayes, for watching. Again, I don't want to be seen as just the negative person, okay? I actually do plan on making a prediction video soon for the upcoming death battle. And one of the reasons why I made this video was because Denji versus Yuji had just come out as a cast as I was making this video, which is kind of funny. But yeah, thanks you guys for watching. I'll see you later.